Welcome to the DL Gaming Podcast. This week we are going to be talking about Abiotic Factor, Astrobot, and Path of Exile 2. My name is Bobby.
My name's Nick.
And I'm absolutely stuffed with Korean fried chicken right now.
Dude,
what is
one
your
of the
guys'?
best.
It's the best. It's the
One
best
of the
chicken I've
best.
ever had.
Mm.
No?
Oh, man. No. You ever tried
Well,
North Korean fried chicken? That's what I thought. No one has.
I don't think they have real chickens over there, dude.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the thing where what's his name? The chef with the bald head. Anyways, they were like, why do you think South Korean fried chicken is so tasty? And he's like, because black GIs taught him how to make chicken during the Korean War. And he was like, oh, Alton Brown, that's his name.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's what happened. That's the history of it. Because me and my brother-in-law were talking. He's like, why is this so good? I was like, there's thousands of years. And then I corrected myself. I was like, no, it's actually been, I don't know, 70 years that they've been
70
perfecting
years
it.
around there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Decades.
Anyway, have you had it, Bobby? Are you on the wagon? Do you
I
know
don't think
what
I've had Korean fried chicken.
All right,
It's
we
good.
need to fix this as soon as possible. But
Uh,
anyway, this is not a fried chicken show nor a Korean show. It's a video game show. And we talk about things like Abiotic Factor, Astrobot, Path of Exile 2. And I just stole Bobby's part, and I'm going to go right into my part where I talk about Patreon. We need money, guys. We're not dying. We're not destitute, but it greases the wheels, if you will. You know, it makes things
Tell me
easier
buy drugs
for us.
for DLG Con.
It's true. It's true. Do you want just a bump, or do you want a heap? You know. So anyway, if you want to get there, dlgaming.net, and from there, click on support, and you'll find all the different ways you can support us. You can buy merch or the Patreon. Do what Bobby doesn't do, and support the things that you love.
Wow, damning.
Jeez.
Well,
Pilar's about to stab him next time she sees him.
all right, let's move into our ping section. This is where we ping things or note something interesting. This week, I'm going to talk about this new page that Steam has out. So we're in the middle of the winter sale, and they posted this page called the Best of 2024. This is showing a lot of data, interesting data that I don't know if they've shown this before. Maybe they have, but it's showing which games made the most money this year. Also, which games had the most concurrent players, and which games were played the most using things like a Steam Deck, a controller, or a VR headset. I wanted to draw attention to the highest grossing games of the year, though, because that's what interests me. I'm looking at this list, and they're in no particular order, but there are a lot of free-to-play games here, such as Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, PUBG. Is Destiny 2 free-to-play yet?
I believe the base game is free, but like some of the DLCs are still pay to play.
Okay. But then there's some newcomers too, like Helldivers 2, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, and I guess Baldur's Gate 3 and Black Ops 6. Oh, Space Marine 2 is up there as well. So
Yes.
a lot of the games you kind of would expect to see, but I'm really surprised. Like the ones that are making the most money, quite a few free-to-play games. Apparently that model is still viable.
Have you? I wanted to bring this up later.
Those aren't free. Those aren't brand new free-to-play games. Those are legacy free-to-play games.
Counter-Strike makes just so much money on crates alone. It's insane. But this actually ties into what I wanted to ping this week or talk about this week is that, guess how much the average fucking price of a Marvel Rivals skin costs?
I don't know.
$20.
Yeah. That's
How
up
is
there.
that compared to Overwatch? Because I think Overwatch is kind of expensive now since they moved away from the loot crate system, right?
Overwatch used to be I think it was $2 for like a regular loot crate and $5 for a super loot crate, and you were guaranteed some sort of permanent. And by that, what I mean is like you weren't given a currency, you were given like a skin or a name tag or like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's $20 for a skin in League. It's $5. There's even skins that are $2.
Well, it depends on the skin too. Some skins are just a recolor. Some of them
Essentially,
come with
though,
effects.
there's like now like campaigns on social media for people to like get people's skins for free by like, hey, if you have somebody who owns a PlayStation, have them log into your account on the PlayStation, then you get a free Spider-Man skin. And if someone owns a like Xbox, do the same thing. Like, this is how you get free skins, and you can get 9 free skins right now. And it's just it's pretty interesting. This game is really weird because it's had so many leaks. Like, they've already leaked the next 13 characters. And it's
is it a leak at that point?
Well, it's not even the company. The company is like, yeah, we got data mined twice. So, like the full Fantastic Four, Ultron, just I can't even remember some of the other characters, but it's just a gaggle of people. Like I said last week, they're going to be releasing the characters in bunches instead of just one by one, which is nice because you don't like. Everybody gets a little taste, right? The tank players get a tank, the DPS players get a DPS, and the support players get a support. So it's a nice way to do it, I think, in my mind.
I'll die on this hill. I don't care if the skins are $100. It's it's something that doesn't make you win the game or anything. It's just looks. So just don't buy it. You'll be fine if you don't look snazzy.
It's not just snazzy.
Will you though?
I don't know. These Marvel rival skins. These Marvel rival skins are sexy. Okay. I don't know if you've seen Galactic,
but it's
Hella.
Like you're just paying to like
be pretty.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it is important to people. Like you can't underestimate the value of that.
Sure.
Like, it is.
No, you can estimate it. It's $20. That's the value, dude.
The feeling of being pretty, Emilio, is what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Not the skin itself. But yeah, I ended up buying a Venom skin because I got given a Steam gift card for Christmas. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
All right. That game was in the top 10 or 12 of the Steam list for most concurrent players too. And I never looked at how many players they had, and I just checked it out. 480,000 was their all-time peak. Right now, 370,000 people playing that game just on Steam.
You remind me, Bobby, of a little story that proves that you hate me. So last week after the podcast, we were talking about like, oh, let's play some games together. And you're like, yeah. And Nick's like, yeah, let's do it. And then 10 minutes later, Nick's like, no, I got another person I'd rather play with. So he was gone, right? And then
I said I promised someone before, and I should have remembered because I'm a bad friend.
It's almost exactly what you're like. Nah, somebody else is better. And then I went out into the kitchen and I was like, Sam, I'm gonna play word for word. I'm gonna play video games with Bobby. I don't think that's happened. I think that's happened once this year. So you're just gonna have to make time. Take care of the kids. Come back in here. Waited for 2 hours and no show from the big man. So.
Yeah, I think we had a little bit of a miscommunication there because I was waiting for you. I was in Marvel Rivals. And, I got to say, I'm not going to get into Marvel Rivals, but I don't really like that they don't have a straight up healer, I don't know how I feel about that.
They do. His name's Jeff.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeff just has a button that just clicks. Like some of the other characters that heal, it's a little weird because like you have to do offensive moves and defensive moves. But Jeff has a button. His left click is just heal.
Well, I need to be playing Jeff then, obviously.
Well, Rocket Raccoon just right clicks to heal.
Yeah, but it's not constant. What he's talking about, the Jeff thing is just a constant.
I'm looking
heal.
for a medic, basically, from TF2. Is that?
And that's
Jeff?
what he is. He has like the beam healing.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah, we can talk about Marvel Rivals all day. By the way.
Oh boy, let's.
At least I can. But no, what do you got, Emilio? There's one thing you wanted to bring up. Talk about
Cyberpunk
nice.
2077 had 2.2 patch. It's like, are they ever going to leave this thing alone? I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just glad that they're doing things. This comes with 100 new customization options for your character, which is important because you can go and redo your face anytime, your face and your body anytime you want, including dick piercings and whatever other crazy shit. But now there's 100 more.
I love how you say that's the most extreme thing. You can change your genitalia at will. Like it's the dick piercings is not on the severity list. That is the entry point. Okay.
You could also get a color changing paint job on your car. So like push a button, change the color, which is really good for getting away from the cops, which is nice. And then there's a bunch of cars that drive around that you can't own. And they put all of them in. Now they're all drivable. So there's 15 new vehicles that you can buy or steal or whatever and drive. So yeah, they're going to keep on working and making this thing better and better. It's awesome.
That's pretty cool. I'm glad it's still being worked on and it's still being, like tuned and everything, even though they're working on even though they're still working on Witcher 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
55,000 people playing that game right now.
Wow.
Jeebus.
Cyberpunk 2077.
Jesus. Yeah. Dude. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the games that we have played this week, our highlights section. And I'm going to start it off with Abiotic Factor. If you listened last week, you remember that this is a game that Cricket Soldier, one of our listeners, one of our patrons wanted me to play. And if you've been a patron and you have that, if you've been a patron for that long, that's one of the things you get. You can make us play any game, and this is the game that he chose. It is a survival crafting game, which is really not my jam, but I gave it a shot. And you know what? It's not too bad. So like I said last week, it's a 1 to 6 player crafting survival game. It's set in an underground scientific research lab. And it's got that same humor as Half-Life 2 with the scientists and the aliens. There's something like inherently funny about scientists and aliens. Like, I don't know, that's just a recipe for comedy. So it's got the same graphics too. And I swear the same kind of voice as those scientists had in Half-Life 2. Like it sounds just like it, that real nasally science nerd voice. And also this game is developed by Deep Field Games. If you remember Unfortunate Spacemen, they were the developers of that game. It was an Among Us type game. But it's interesting what they do here because, yes, it is a survival crafting game, but it doesn't really feel like it. So there was a game I played many years ago called Phoning Home. I don't know if you guys remember this one. It's got a little robot that looks like Wall-E, and he crash lands on a planet, and he's got to build back a spaceship so he can fly back home, basically, I think was the plot there.
I remember you liking that game.
I did. It was actually not bad, and it was technically a survival crafting game, but it was very linear. So you start off in one area, and you survive and you craft your way through that area, and then that gives you the ability, like the progression, to move on to a different area. And the areas are not just like procedurally generated, like random, pretty much unnoticeable landscape. Like there's I don't know, there's some thought put into it and it's designed. There's such a big difference like between procedurally generated and things that aren't. That was like a real big buzzword a while back because people were like, we can make infinite number of playable areas. And and it was like, is that what we really need though? Because you look at a game like No Man's Sky and every planet kind of looks the same. Like it's generally the same thing. This one's got a different type of tree and there's a rock over here instead of over there. But you look at that and you compare it to something like Cyberpunk 2077, where the environment is just so deliberate and designed. And it's just like, wow, this feels lived in and feels real. It feels like some thought went into it. Like, I don't know. I think that like registers on a psychological level for players, even if they don't really notice it. But I never really like procedurally generated stuff. Even though there's probably a lot more of that than we realize.
Yeah. I remember reading a thing that was like on Reddit regarding graphics in games and how like there is like a perfect area of like what you want where like something can be too realistic and something can be too fake. And some games like straddle that line, and like if you're not clear enough on what it is, your brain just kind of goes like, oh, this isn't really what I'm looking for, or like this isn't really appealing to me for some people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. And it's not really the fidelity of the graphics that bother me. It's just, it feels like lazy or boring and uninteresting, the procedurally generated stuff. But when you look at a game that doesn't have that, it's like, wow, this is a world that I can interact with. And as opposed to something that just feels like a bunch of filler out there.
It's kind of like a Fallout 3 or Skyrim. So the world was crafted, but then the events inside are random. You know? Like the caves were all crafted, all the hideouts were all crafted.
Oh, yeah.
But anything can happen within those.
Mhm.
And that's kind of like that's where the magic happens for me for those games, you know? Or like sometimes you'd be out in the field and I don't know, two roving bands of whatever factions just happen to run into each other. It's not crafted, just kind of happens. And then you're like, you could ignore it or you could interact with it. It's awesome.
Yeah,
Those are my favorite, dude.
it
Yeah.
allows
you
for a
had,
lot
like,
of unscripted events to play out, which is like very old school gaming that I think a lot of people like. You know, that we got into a habit with like newer games for a while where everything was just on rails and it just, I don't know, it kind of took away the player agency. But yeah, it's fun when just like something totally random can happen.
That's what you lose when the whole experience is crafted, unfortunately.
You know what's crazy is that in Fallout, you know the random events that happen? Some of them aren't random, but some of them are. And even in the non-random ones, depending on what level you are, determines on what factions has access to what guns. And because of that, some of them may win more than others.
Depending on
like,
where
for
you
example,
are in the story.
Exactly, because Fallout is one of those games in like Skyrim, with the higher level you are, the more access you have to other stuff. And whether that be like new spells or like a new kind of weapon or a new gun. Like usually in Fallout, they don't let you have the missile launcher until you're at least like level 12, right? But the same thing goes for like in the general world, unless you go to like a unique location or a unique mob that already has it, you won't get that. What you ended up having to do is you have to wait till you're level 12 and then look for a mob that usually carries it. But in the random events, if you're like level 20, the super mutants will have like missile launchers and miniguns, but the Minutemen will have like, instead of having laser muskets, they'll have like laser rifles or like mini lasers. Like it's crazy. It's just crazy how the game changes based on what level you are.
Yeah. I miss those random events. Well, I miss those giant fucking open world games with random events in it.
That's why everybody's waiting for the next one, man. That's why everyone's waiting for Fallout and Sky and what is it called? Is it Red Mountain or Redstone, whatever it's called, the new one that's coming out?
Oh yeah. Fuck, I don't remember. The new Elden Rings. I mean, yeah. But not Elden Rings, I'm sorry. Elder Scrolls.
Elder Scrolls.
But last thing on this, I think part of the reason I liked Dead Island 2 so much is the random shit that could happen. Like it was semi-open world. You're in this like city, but they're never all in the same area. They're not. Every single time you step out, the zombies are in different areas and put in different things. So every once in a while, you could just step into a shitstorm, even though it's an area you've passed 2-3 times. You never know.
Yeah, and to be clear, I'm just talking about the environment when I'm talking about procedurally generated stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot more bland, for sure.
Yeah. So a few more notes on Abiotic Factor. I want to talk about the crafting specifically in this game because it's really interesting what they do here. First of all, you don't have to chop any trees, so that's good. What you do is you run out and you collect items and you have to craft them using science into some sort of crafting table or machine or something. It's all very like science focused because you're a scientist. But the way that you get your resources, you don't go out and mine for them. And I don't mean like physically mine for them, like with a pickaxe. I mean, when you play a lot of crafting survival games, it's like, okay, I'm a lumberjack today. I'm going out and chopping a bunch of trees because I need wood, or we need stone. So I'm going to go punch a bunch of rocks or something. This is more like you just search for stuff. It could be in rooms and drawers, wherever. You open up cabinets and you just find stuff and you use that for crafting. And when you get it, you have to guess the recipe. So you'll get a blueprint and it'll say like, okay, a homemade shield. What could make that? Like, okay, a board, a cloth, some duct tape, and like it'll give you like 5 other items. And then you pick the items to what you logically think could craft that, which I don't think I've seen that in a crafting game before. It's like usually they just give you the recipe.
Point
and
and click.
Yeah, kind of like that. The thing that I don't understand about this is like you get as many guesses as you want, so it doesn't seem like there's really any challenge in it. Like you could just guess wrong and eventually you could figure out what the recipe is. But it is kind of cool that they involve that. Like you actually have to use your brain. Like what actually would I use to make like a battery or a capacitor or something like that?
Yeah, that is cool. I would imagine like if you wanted to make it harder that the resources are ruined when you try, you know, if it
so
right
it's kind of like stakes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it would make the game better, but
I think they would have a hard time doing that because what they do is they kind of guide you through, even though it's like an open world crafting survival, it is kind of linear. They have these set environments and you're supposed to craft this, then that allows you to craft that, and in order to get to this area you have to craft this item. So like at the very beginning there's a guy who's stuck on the outside of the room and he's trying to get in, and you have to craft something like a battery or something that goes to the door so you can open it up and let him in. So if you're not able to do that, or if you lose the resource or something, then you're kind of screwed at that point. You can't progress through the rest of the game. But it is kind of cool how you can visit these different areas. You hop on a tram and it's just like, I mean, again, very Half-Life 2 here, or Half-Life in general, where you hop on a tram. If you remember at the beginning of those games, you're always on a tram and they're usually like, I don't know, introducing you to the lab or something, like it's your first day on the job. But you hop on a tram, you go to a different area. And then of course there's harder characters in that area, but better items. So it's like the next logical step. It's a really interesting game. I wish I could find people to play it with though, because still I cannot get into a game that has other people in it and is open. Like I've seen public servers out there, I guess, and I've joined them, but there's nobody in there. And they've got also like different mods where I couldn't like craft certain things. So it was weird. So I just ended up starting my own game and playing through that. It's nice that I can save it and like pick up again later without having a dedicated server. But I don't know. I'd really like to experience this with other people because it seems like that's how it's meant to be played.
It was supposed to happen last Friday, but somebody didn't answer the phone. All right, I gotta go pee. Right back.
Well, what I want to know, Bobby, is that are you going to be free after the show today?
That's going to depend because it takes me a lot longer to get the show ready than it used to now that we're doing all this other stuff. So,
okay. Because the reason I ask is that we've been talking in the shadow chats that you've been wanting to make a commander deck, and so we can get that out of the way. That'll probably take like 30 minutes.
Okay.
But after that, we're gonna be. I don't know what me and Emilio are doing. We're already being invited to something because Sunday is usually the day that everybody's free, right? But we might be able to play a game tonight or something, depending on what everything's going on.
Yeah, and I would love to play some Marvel Rivals with you guys. I don't know if you are okay with having someone who's not very experienced on your team. Okay. All right.
Yeah, no. Like they make fun of me for still sucking, even though I kind of don't suck, but I still suck. It depends on your character, really.
Well, I'm a fast learner. Give me an easy character.
For sure.
All right. So Nick, why don't you tell us about what you played this week?
So, not a PC game, as that's kind of surprising for most. Usually, I end up playing things that are PC nowadays, unless it's like a PlayStation exclusive, and this one is. For those who don't know, PlayStation turned 30 years this month, actually. And with that, there's a kind of like an homage to all of those games, and it's a game called Astrobot. In Astrobot, you play as a little robot, and you go to these planets, and you save these other little robots that look like you, and you get these parts for a PlayStation 5. You get like the power supply unit, the RAM, the graphics unit, and like the hard drive. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to repair the PlayStation, because that's your ship that all the Astrobots live in, and that's how they get around the galaxies. And so every level is a platformer, and the platforming is actually pretty decent. I haven't got anything that's too hard. Apparently the really hard stuff is at the end of the game, which I'm glad, because we've been letting Vivian play a lot, and she's been watching, and if things get too complicated, she gets frustrated and doesn't want to play anymore. But it's been pretty decent so far. The thing is almost every single level, if not every single galaxy, has a unique mechanic. And by that, what I mean is, one example is on the Monkey Galaxy, you get these little like rubber band arms that you can punch stuff from super far, but you can also climb up like cliff faces with them. And everything is remote based. And so you pull the trigger to punch stuff, but to climb up a mountain, you have to move your remote left and right, up and down while you're holding the triggers. There's even times where you have to blow into the remote to make things happen. Like you want to blow leaves away somewhere.
Huh. How does that detect it? With a microphone, you think?
It's the microphone. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a little microphone and speaker in the remote itself, and you just blow into it and that's how it activates. It's super fun. Like the game itself. I just don't know how long it is. From what people have said, it's about 10 hours long if you're like super tryharding trying to get all the collectibles, because every single planet has collectibles. It has these robots that you save, but the thing is, some of the robots are PlayStation characters. Some of them are non-PlayStation characters that have had PlayStation partnerships in the past, like Spyro. It's so lighthearted, but still somehow like still challenging at the same time. And I'm still having fun with it. Leslie plays more than I do, but we'll just sit on the couch and just play for like 2-3 hours straight with like Vivian next to us. The love letters to the PlayStation like exclusive titles like God of War and stuff are these extra levels that contain the parts for the PlayStation 5. And for example, one of the first ones is the God of War level, and you rescue all the God of War characters, but they're all disguised as little robots. But the unique mechanic for that world is you get Kratos' axe, and you get to do all the things that you do in God
cool.
of War, where you can throw the axe and free stuff. You can call the axe back. You can like boomerang the axe. You can do all these other things. There's a Nathan Drake level where you get a gun, and it's just really lighthearted. Even if you don't have kids or you don't like platformers, I would still suggest playing it. It's 30% off, I think, right now.
What?
You can get it for like $45. They want everybody to be able to play the game because it's so accessible, and they want people to experience the game, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Right after getting Game of the Year, I would not be putting my shit on sale.
I don't know. I picked it up for $46 on the PlayStation Store.
How long to beat says 11 hours normal, 14 hours main and extra, and 17 completionist. So
there you go. So apparently at the end, and I don't know anything about it yet so far as like in game, because it doesn't tell you, but towards the end of the game there is like a super challenge mode where like you're constantly jumping and spinning and like doing these obstacle courses and stuff. And I've seen people play them on Instagram, and I really want to try it. So we'll see. Yeah, that's Astrobot.
So I typed in Astrobot and a few things came up. I don't know if you know what these things are. Astrobot Rescue Mission, Winter Wonder, and Stellar Speedway. Are those all DLCs?
No, those are missions in the game. So every mission is a planet, and some of them are really hard. In the sense, like, dude, one time we spent like 35 minutes looking for one robot to save, and we could not find it. We did have to search it. It ended up being like a thing where we had to jump off the side of a cliff and then like run backwards into the cliff and land on a ledge kind of thing. But overall, the game is fair. Like, there's not that many like super mega hard puzzles or anything. Like a 6-year-old can get it. Like Vivian has trouble because she's 4. Like there's like a thing where you put your hand on a wall and you walk along the wall and you're waiting for the control to vibrate the most, and then you press forward and then you go through the wall. She doesn't really understand that. She's like, I don't get what's going on here. But like Mila, she would love this game, dude.
Yeah.
She would. It's super fun.
It's awesome.
As a fucking 30-year-old, I'm having fun with it.
So correction, you were right, I think, on Winter Wonder and Stellar Speedway, but Astrobot Rescue Mission is a VR version of the game.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Did you end up buying the VR?
No, I didn't end up buying the VR. I ended up buying the Meta Quest 2.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Which we ended up playing mini golf, which was a blast. We played
By the
that
way,
for Christmas.
do you get the Game of the Year like rave reviews? Do you understand?
I see the hype so far, but apparently the end of the game is where like it accelerates to being super crazy fun. Yeah.
Well,
so yeah.
Cool. Thank you for to JP Diddy for buying me Path of Exile 2 for Christmas. It's funny because I had moused over it like several times. Like, I don't know, fucking why I'm gonna pay $30 for something that's gonna be free to play when it comes out on full release. So I don't know. I was hung up on it, and then he bought it for me, and I'm so glad he did. This game is probably I can't remember a ARPG that I liked this much for a long time. Maybe like Grim Dawn, or like it's been a long time since I liked something this much. What was the other one? Torchlight. I really like Torchlight, but it's been years since I really liked it, and I've beat a couple random ones here and there. Diablo 2, Diablo 3, Diablo 4, I wasn't really a huge fan of, and then I'm really enjoying this game. I have 3 characters. I've probably put in 15 hours, 20 hours. They do some things really well. So, we've all played games like this. We know what we're talking about. So the devil's in the details when this thing comes out. When it comes to these, it's like, what did they choose? How did they implement certain things? And for me, everything they did so far in this game is the right way to do it. And I think it's even going to get better because it's in early access, and they're going to get a ton of feedback from this early access, because a lot of people, anytime I boot up Steam, probably 3 people are playing this right now. It's probably more than anything else on my Steam friends list. So one of the things that I liked about it are the difficulty curve is probably the thing that I enjoy the most. It has a roll button to dodge attacks, and the enemies really telegraph that they're going to attack. So if you get hit by a boss, it's gonna either kill you or do 70 to 90% of your damage, if not kill you. But you're invulnerable to doing your roll or certain the arc of your roll, and they really telegraph their attacks. And so when you get hit and you get killed, you're like, I deserved it. I wasn't paying attention. I was thinking about my bills or whatever you were. One lapse of not concentrating during a boss fight, and you're done. But I've always felt, and I played a lot of hours with JP Diddy as well. I've always felt that I deserved it. I never thought once that I was like, I got gypped or anything like that. It was always my fault or his fault or together. And so, a few bosses we went 3, 4, 5, 6 times at, and then we realized on one boss, we're almost there. It's like, we're getting it down to 25%, but I don't think we can do it with what we have. So we went back to town and we tweaked our characters a little bit, tweaked our builds a little bit. And then I think we leveled up once, and then we didn't breeze through it, but it was what we needed to get over the hump. And this game continuously skirts that line between you not being strong enough and you being just strong enough, but never you never fucking just, I feel like
you never
Diablo,
just destroy everything.
Yeah. In Diablo, you're just fucking hosing everything. And it's just like, it's a grind because there's no fear of death. And then if you die, it just, sometimes you're like, what the fuck killed me? And you don't even know, because next time you spawn, you're not going to run into the same thing again. I always feel, even when the field trash kills me, it was because I wasn't paying attention, or because that happens. When does field trash kill you in Diablo? Like, not very often, unless some cheap shit happened. So for a game that has, I don't know how many creature types I've seen, 50 creature types by level 14, and diverse biomes and all kinds of crazy shit, for them to like have the difficulty dialed in perfectly on something like this at this point of the development phase is admirable.
So I have a quick question for you. Have you been playing a summoning class at all?
So it's funny that you say that because I started playing the Necromancer and I'm breezing through it way easier than any of the other classes for sure. Way easier. I don't know if that's
So what's funny is that when I was playing about 3 weeks ago, the summoning classes were the worst. So apparently, from what you're telling me, is that they've actually balanced them out, which is pretty interesting because everybody that I was playing with, well, the half of us were playing summoning classes, and apparently they were just absolutely useless.
I mean, it could be. It also could be that it's my third playthrough, and I understand the game deeper the third time through than I had the other times because the skills manipulation and leveling up the skills and the skill tree are all kind of complicated. I mean, you learn it in 5 minutes, but it's not intuitive. No. You know, I watched a couple YouTube videos that explain how they all work, and then I just got it. You know, it's something like that.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say. Shit, my bad.
Yeah, I was on a roll, sucker, and you fucked me up, man.
No, that's us. One brain cell.
Yeah. I only got one, man. It jumps around. Let's see. So the customization. It's an interesting little thing that they did. So every skill you can level up individually. That's nothing new if you want. Or you can use the same drop. It's an orb. You can use a drop to upgrade an existing skill or potentially give you a new skill. So if you have a skill that you really like, you just keep pouring it into that. Or if you want to try something new, you unlock another one. Besides that, they have skill modifiers. But every skill has 3 potential skill modifiers. Let's just say you add fire to your main attack. That's something that my warrior had. Only the main attack can be modified that way. So you modify it, it's got a red little gem in there, and now your club does fire damage every time you attack.
Of course.
But what's interesting is you can take that orb, that red orb, and put it into another skill. Most of the attack skills, almost all the attack skills. So you could export that modification to all of your, eventually, if you get enough drops, that fire damage to all your abilities, and you can have a fire build that has nothing to do with your skills or your skill tree. It's just modifications that you're just fucking around with things that you can fuck around with. It's very interesting. I haven't seen a game like that or do something like that ever before. I talked to a guy last night. I actually played D&D for 6 hours straight last night. It was our first game, and he's got 1,400 hours in Path of Exile 1, and so he was critical about this game, and he was saying that it's an illusion of choice. There really isn't choice, and this and this. And I didn't really agree with him, but he's got so much more experience. Maybe he does know. And so maybe that's true. I mean, he does have a lot more, and then I was like, yeah, but do you think it's good? He's like, it's fucking fantastic. I just have to pick. I just have to pick at the parts that don't work, you know?
Well, I think that's like how it is with any game. Like if you've been playing it for that long, then you realize, okay, these are the choices that work, the weapons, the items, you know, it's the min max. So I don't know. That's how I feel like all these other ones were. Yeah, there's like a lot of different things that you could choose and ways that you could play, but there's really only like a few that are top tier.
Yeah, that's almost, you should meet this guy, Bobby. You guys sound like the exact same person. So, and then let's see. Yeah, the bosses, when you've lost to a boss, you were never like, that's never going to happen. There's no way. You're always like, if I zigged when I should have zagged a few times, I could get it, you know? And that's a special little, I never wanted to stop playing, man. It's fucking awesome. It's so good. Nick, same thing you were saying earlier on. Who knows? All my shit's going to get wiped. How much time should I put into this, you know? Maybe I should wait.
I have a friend who has, I think, 200 hours in the game now.
Yeah.
And he's like, I think I'm done where I'm at with where I won't burn myself out.
Mm.
Like I'm like, dude, I couldn't even put 20 hours in this game because like I tried playing Tarkov the other day and I'm like, oh yeah, everything's just gonna be gone, even my achievements, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Is progression really progression if it's not permanent? It's not.
I mean, I think so to a point, especially if like you get to keep the achievement where the game says, hey, Nicholas or Emilio has done these things, right? That's a different story than being like, oh no, that's all being taken away. Now, if it's like Path of Exile where they just erase everything and they're like, hey, you can keep your legacy characters and take a look at them and stuff, then yeah, that's fine. But if they're like, oh yeah, you essentially never played the game, so you get nothing, that's when I have a problem with it.
Mm-hmm. My biggest problem with the game was that I got to level 7 with the Ranger before I realized they don't get a summoning class, like a wolf or anything. I was like, fuck it, I'm done.
I'm
out. Yeah, no
you
pet.
actually have to use
Which
your
is
bow and
weird
arrow
for a hunter.
It is weird for a hunter, dude. That's why like it was super. And then I looked up, do they get pets? And I guess you can have a pet. You can have a pet like you can in Warcraft, where it's just like a thing that follows you around.
Oh, okay.
One of them is an angry
decoration.
rock, which is pretty cool. But yeah. Anyway, Bobby, you got 2? What's going on?
Yeah, I know. So I don't have anything for On the Radar, which is our upcoming section, but I do have 2 things that I wanted to put in highlights. So this one is not really a game. I wanted to talk about this thing called Gaseous Server. Gaseous, like the state. It is a self-hosted, web-based solution for emulators and ROMs. So I had a little bit of time off work, not too much, and I've been catching up on some projects at home. I run TrueNAS at home on my NAS. Got a lot of services running on there, a lot of virtual machines and whatnot. But I was looking around. They recently had a big update where they made some changes and it totally changed their the apps that they offer. And one of them was this one called Gaseous Server, and it was for this thing called Gaseous Gaming. And I was like, okay, gaming, what's that? And yeah, basically this just allows you to self-host ROMs that you can play on a website, and you can save your games to it. And it links with igdb.com, which is the Internet Gaming Database, I think is what that stands for. It's kind of like IMDb, but for games.
For games.
Yeah. So it links with that. And so it gives you this nice little interface, and it shows you all the, I'm going to bring up some screenshots here so people can see what I'm talking about. It gives you this nice little interface that shows you your collection or your library of games. You click on one, it says like, okay, this game was released on, in this year for this system, and these are the reviews. Here's some screenshots, and here's like a YouTube video. And it's really, really cool. It uses this thing called emulator.js, which I'm familiar with. If you go to like any of these ROM sites that are out there now where you can play a ROM just right off the website, it's using emulator.js. So this does exactly that, except it's self-hosted. So I've set this up with my domain. So now anywhere I'm at, I can go to my website, I can log in, and I can start playing my ROMs. Like whatever I have on there, I can load my saves. Super cool stuff, man. I'm digging it.
So basically all old games is there somewhere.
It's pretty incredible what you can play on ROMs these days. I usually use it for like the games of my childhood, Nintendo, Super Nintendo. Been going through a Sega Genesis phase lately. But in the past, I've actually used an emulator for newer systems. The last time I played A Link to the Past on a Super Nintendo emulator, somebody had suggested this other Legend of Zelda game that came out, I think, for like Nintendo DS or some newer handheld system. And he said it's heavily inspired by A Link to the Past. And it sure was, man. It was like very similar to it, but its own game.
Arcana of Time or the Mask one?
Majora's Mask.
I can't remember what it was called, but it was super. It's not a popular one. But I also played, I started playing the first Metal Gear, which was PlayStation 1. So yeah, I guess that's kind of old.
Metal Gear Solid?
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid. Yeah.
Yeah, if you talk to Tag Loro or any like super sweaty, they're like, "That's not the first Metal Gear. It was on Nintendo." Okay, all right, calm down.
Technically, yes. I mean, there was technically a Street Fighter 1 too, but nobody talks about it.
Nobody ever talks about it. No, and same thing with Mortal Kombat 1. No one talks about Mortal Kombat 1.
Oh,
what about controllers, Bobby? Or control in general?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can. It works just like right off the bat with an Xbox controller, or like I've got my 8-bit-do SNES controller. It works just fine with that. You can remap the keys. It saves those settings. And I believe Emulator JS can do that, but because this is self-hosted, I think the settings stick. I don't know what the most popular emulator site is. I think it's like emulatorroms.com or something. But if you go there, it'll prompt you to like, instead of downloading the ROM, just like load it up in this browser. And when you do that, it does it for the first, like it resets everything because it's loading like a new instance of it. But
so when it comes to older games, you're fine on the controllers. You just won't touch anything in the last
with
10
a joystick
years with the controller. Gotcha.
Yeah, no, he doesn't like joysticks.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as we went to the analog stick, you lost me there. I can't do anything. I'm D-pad only or mouse and keyboard. But yeah, so it's pretty cool, man. I'm enjoying this. I don't know how often I'll use it because I go through phases with these, and it really depends on the game. Like I straight up played all the way through Donkey Kong Country on an emulator, Super Mario World. The last time I did this was Super Metroid, but I didn't beat it. God, what a good game, man. Dude,
it is such a good game.
Crazy. All right, so that's the last thing I wanted to mention on highlights. Let's move into On the Radar. These are games that have caught our attention. And Nick, why don't you start us off?
So yeah, I found out that Space Engineers 2 is releasing next month on the 27th. For those who don't know what Space Engineers is, it's a crafting survival game-ish. It's more of like a sandbox kind of, just because you're not really worried about survival at the most part, because you kind of respawn and get your stuff back. You can make like blueprints and just rebuild stuff with blueprints and stuff. But it's really fun. I didn't really get to play the first one. I just watched a lot of YouTube about it. I may be giving this one a crack because of the fact that it's so like the first one was so well received. I don't know. I'm a little cautious about anything that it's a crafting survival, but like I said, it's not really survival. It's more like you just get to do whatever you want. But yeah, Space Engineers 2, you get to make ships, you get to make bases, you get to explore planets and stuff. It seems just way more graphically intensive than the first one, and like the customization options are way more diverse. The first one survived for so long because of the mods. Just like there's so many mods that are just quality of life mods that are just now being adapted into the second game. Where you don't need all the mods because the game already has them built in now. So we'll see where it goes from there. The game is easily moddable from what I'm understanding. And you can kind of like mod in situations like an alien attack and things like that. But yeah, it's Space Engineers 2. Everybody loves space.
They do. And giant monsters. Skydances Behemoth. We saw this trailer during the Game Awards. I want to say we saw it before then as well. But anyway, it's they call themselves Dark Fantasy VR Adventure. If you don't remember the trailer, it's basically like a VR Skyrim without the RPG part. It's more just adventure. And you get this grappling hook, which is on your forearm, which makes VR always fun. You can grab guys, pull them towards you. Sword fights they look realistic. You could do things like if somebody shoots an arrow at you, you can catch it midair and throw it back at them with your hand. And if you do it all right, like it actually kills them and stuff. Very cool moves, things like that. But then there's these behemoths, which are the size of things from Shadow of the Colossus. I don't know what those boss fights look like. There was a brief little thing where it looked like you were climbing up the side of it, very much like Shadow of the Colossus. What a cool way to implement, it's like a Shadow Colossus with actual other humans you have to sword fight with. That's what it seems like, but it all in VR. Seems amazing as a concept. The game, I think, is sitting at a 76% or something on Steam right now. So it's not, a world beater, but I think with VR, a lot of times you're dealing with people just not, at least 5-10% of those people I feel like are just not, they haven't dialed in their VR, or it just doesn't work with their VR setup. And so they're always dealing with that. But anyway,
there's always hardware issues with VR.
Yeah, there's always hardware issues and stuff like that. So more so than just your typical game. So I'm allotting a little bit for that. I might try it out. I don't know. I don't play VR very often, but this one does beckon to me.
VR games are always so expensive too. I think that might factor into people's reviews.
Funny you say that, because I was like $40. I was like, that sounds about right for something like this. If it's a full-on game, if it's like a 6 to 8 hour game. But if it's, an experience, I'm not, I don't even want to pay a little over $10 for an experience.
Let's see, how long to beat? 7 hours for the main story.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. 15
Between
hours
30 and 40, I think, is acceptable.
All right, so that is it for On the Radar. Let's get right into listener questions. So last week we didn't have any. This week we have too many. So let's get through these. The first one is from Warconius. He says, in 2024, what genre of game were you really into? Any games you didn't expect to play a lot but got really into? For me, Helldivers 2 and Monster Hunter Rise were two games that surprised me with really addictive multiplayer co-op gaming mechanics.
For me, it was Warhammer.
Space
Marine. Called? Yeah, Space Marine 2. Did not see that coming, man. I thought it was going to be like a single player action game, which it can be, but then the multiplayer just was so good. Had some really good experiences here with Nick and his wife, and it's a lot more than I thought it was going to be. And it's not really my type of game, but it's on my list for Game of the Year, which I have to figure out in the next fucking week, I guess. And then also, if you would have told me that I would have loved an ARPG this year, I would have thought you were crazy. But here we are.
Here we are.
I've been playing a lot of diverse games lately, as far as like I'm not sticking to just first person shooters or like anything like that. I'm surprised to see the fact that I did play Helldivers for so long. I thought it was going to be a flash in the pan, and then I ended up playing it for over, like, I think it's over 80 hours or 90 hours. But yeah, that's really my feelings on that.
All right. I got to say, I was surprised how much I got into survivors-like games. I really didn't see myself liking that genre. I thought it was just like, another trend, another phase, but I felt like every single one that I played, I was like, ooh, this is the best one. Oh no, this one's the best one. It was kind of one of those things. So yeah, that was kind of a big hit for me this year.
When are we finally going to get this video here, Nick, about this? What's going on here, man?
So I this week is my last week of vacation, so I will for sure play it. It's not going to be a video for YouTube. It's going to be a mobile video. So I'll be most likely talking about it for about 4 to 5 minutes. And then splitting that up into like 4 videos. It's like, let's talk about, mechanics. Let's talk about characters. Let's talk about this and that. I think I may extend my playtime from 3 hours to 5 hours, only because of the fact that there are 4 different characters, and just playing 4 hours doesn't get you all 4 of them. So I want to play at least every class at least like 3 or 4 times.
For those who don't know, we're talking about DRG Survivor, which one of our listeners forced him to play through his Patreon subscription. So, which is something anybody could do, and also why Bobby played. What's it called? Abiotic Factor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, that's what made what's her name play a adult game, Tales of Nadia, right? That's why she had to play it, Amanda.
I think so.
Yeah, someone paid it for her to play Tales of Nadia because we were talking about it so much, and we're like, this is the adult game of the year. And then someone's like, you're gonna play that shit then.
It's so funny. Sniper ended up liking it, she ended up liking it. I think it's a solid game.
As much as you can like a sex game. Speaking of those, have you guys seen that new one called Sex Divers?
No. I see like 8 new ones every day because they're on my front page.
I know they're always at like the top list of like most sold. Or
funny enough, none of us turn them off. We could all filter it off, but nobody does. I don't know what's going on. Do you know what's going on?
Do you know why that they're always at the top? I found out why.
Yeah, because people click on them constantly, dude.
It's not just that. So like for the top of most sold, it's because they're the most sold in that category. And because you have that category enabled, you're going to see them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, Sex Divers is like Hell Divers, but with sex. I don't know how that works, but okay. Anyway, next question from Pyronical. If reviews aren't great, but you find a game enticing, will you give it a go anyway? Or are you heavily influenced by the review rating?
I'm going to go really quick on this one. I'm not really into reviews in the sense of like if it's like an older game that is getting like a revival, i.e. like Among Us, like if everybody's streaming it and playing it, then I'll play it. But if it's a newer game, my number one example for this is Supervive. They were like, oh, let's play Supervive, let's play Supervive. I'm like, eh. And then I looked at the reviews and everyone's like, this shit's amazing. And I'm like, all right, I'll play it. So
yeah, I'm kind of the same way. The reviews will like, and I'm talking specifically about Steam reviews. Those are really the only kind of reviews I pay attention to for some reason. But if it's overwhelmingly positive or very positive, it might nudge me over the line to push to get something. But I don't think I'd ever let or have ever let negative reviews deter me from getting a game that I was interested in or wanted.
Yeah, and it hasn't stopped you from bringing absolute dog shit to the podcast to talk about. No, I think for you guys, like the reviews are a factor, but for me, it's the factor. You know, it's probably the most the thing I pay attention to the most. But to answer your question, if I love a genre or like or a IP, even if it's a terrible game, I might give it a shot just to see if one of those two factors is enough to carry it for me.
All right. Next question from J. Beckquest. What is your relationship with Steam returns like? Personally, in 10 years using Steam, I hadn't refunded a game until about 6 months ago. After 2.5 weeks, I put in a refund request asking if they can make an exception because I never return games. Being over 2 weeks, it was denied. Since then, I hit request refund like a madman to stick it to them.
Let me cut you in here real quick, JBEC Quest. Nobody read you asking for, it's all systems that this
it's
automatically. And so nobody read it. And then you returning everything, also falling on deaf ears, dude. You're raging against the machine that it does not feel pain, does not stop, does not cry. Yeah, literally there's no red flags going up that, oh my gosh. So anyway, it's all in your own head, but if it makes you feel better, go for it, dude.
Old man yells at cloud.
I looked it up. They've been doing refunds they announced it in 2015, which is crazy that they didn't do refunds before them. Or maybe it was like they didn't have the method that they have now, like that automated, like, have you played it for more than 2 hours or have you had it for more than 2 weeks? But yeah, it's all just like a system that's automated. It's like black and white. Like if you meet this criteria, then you're eligible for a refund. I don't think I refunded a game until like maybe a year or two ago. And now that I'm familiar with the process, I think I've done it maybe 2 or 3 times. Yeah, maybe like 3 times. It's not something that I do very often, but it is like occasionally something I will do. I don't know. I don't really like purchase a game unless I'm pretty sure that I'm going to enjoy it. But, sometimes it does happen where I get a game where I'm just like, whoa, no, this was a mistake, or I'm never going to play this again.
I'm in the same boat. I've had like 2 or 3 returns. Oddly enough, I have had a return where I've owned it for like 2 weeks and 3 days, and they allowed it. Maybe they just like
take
me
that,
more.
JBEC Quest.
Wow,
JBEC Quest. Like I don't know. Like maybe just they don't like
mail in a handwritten letter.
No, I just did the normal.
I think
I
it's
like, Mr.
more likely
Gagno,
that.
can I please have a refund? And yeah,
I think it's more likely that Nick has a dubious understanding of space and time at best. So he's just like,
is 2 weeks the limit? I didn't know that 2
weeks is the limit. Yeah.
Because usually you hit that 2 hour, like you're going to play 2 hours of a game before you, like after you've had it for 2 weeks. So that's usually the limit that I'm more concerned
I think
with.
the idea is that if you buy a game for a sale that you're not going to play immediately, that is what they're looking to do, right? Is where it's like, hey, you're not playing this game, you just bought it, and
so you're
we've
already
already
paid too late to return Titanfall 2. I can't get my $3 back on that game I bought last winter sale and never played.
Yep, that's exactly what we're telling you.
All right. Well, I'm going to write a strongly worded letter to Steam then.
I probably return the most games, probably 4 to 6 a year, I guess. I don't know. I bought 2 cheap games on this winter sale, and I'm probably going to return both of them. Just they're both cute and fun, but not things that I'm going to continue playing. I'm just going to get rid of them.
So it's just like a demo for you.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
that's one way to
Makes
do it.
sense.
All right, next question from Old Man Dave. What is a game you would like to be remade or remastered? And if your answer isn't Alpha Centauri, why are you wrong? Are you familiar with Alpha Centauri? It's an old Sid Meier game. I never played it.
It sounds familiar.
Oh, but now that you say Sid Meier, it makes me think of, I don't even know if it's it's not even the right guy, but somehow it reminded me of Spore. Spore needs to be remade. Please. That'd be great.
Yeah, not even a remaster, like remade.
Yeah. And Fallout 3. I would love to see. I know it got modded, but it missed the boat on like heavy modding, like New Vegas or like Skyrim. It didn't get that amount of love. And I think it's probably one story-wise. I mean, it just had everything. It was my favorite game for a really long time.
You got Liam Neeson in it.
Yeah, it's true.
All right. Well, since he said a Sid Meier's game, I'm going to go with Sid Meier's Pirates. I feel like that game kind of has been remade in different ways. Like they've used like the game mechanics in that game in other types of games, but I don't know. Let's bring back a classic, I guess.
For me, it's definitely going to be either Gauntlet, like the original Gauntlet.
Oh, they did remake that in 2014, and we all bought a copy. We've got a podcast episode for it.
That is true. Either that or Morrowind. I think Morrowind needs a remake, only because I know it's so good. Like the story is amazing and everything, but it's so clunky that people are not gonna fucking play it.
What about Skywind, Nick?
I mean, I'll play it, but I don't think it's gonna come out in time to make any sort of like major difference, right?
Oh, I thought it was out.
No, it's still like in like a iffy phase apparently.
Gotcha.
All right. Next question from Nyonko. So this is a long one, multiple parts here. Have you played one of the games from recent years where every 10 or so lines of dialogue, you get prompted to choose what your character says out of 2 or 3 sentences, or maybe even out of 1 sentence, and they just make you click on the one choice? I'm talking about choices that don't have an impact on stories, sometimes just in 1 sentence an NPC will say.
Yeah, it's almost like checking if you're still paying attention or something.
Yes, I've definitely played those games.
I know I've seen that, and I can't think of specific examples, but he goes on to say, it's keeping me involved in the discussion, making it just interactive enough that I stay focused. It makes me feel like I am the silent protagonist, and I need to think of an opinion to answer the NPC. Is it only in Chinese gacha games with visual novel-like dialogues, games like Genshin Impact, or have you seen it in some Western games too? Is it just a cheap trick to make us swallow hours of dialogue, or does it enhance the experience?
It's a case-by-case basis, man. If the writing's good, then it's the good version of this. If it's dog shit, then it's the hostage version of this.
Yeah, well, if you're playing a visual novel, I mean, like, that's the game. You know?
That's true too.
Yeah, that is.
You signed up for that. But if
I hate all the writing in this novel.
If it's another type of game,
words.
God, I wish I could think of like examples where this has happened. I'm trying to remember if any Telltale games did this, because the big thing that they emphasized was your choices matter, and they have decisions or they have effects later on in the game. And they kind of give it away because it would pop up in the corner and say, so-and-so will remember that. But I don't know. I don't know if there was any other. It's hard to do dialogue choices. I feel like that's difficult because you've got to map all that out. And especially in a game like Mass Effect, where, too bad Christian isn't here to comment on this because I know he's playing those games. But in Mass Effect, the choices do matter, those dialogue options. And it's more than just, if I remember correctly, it's more than just like veering you towards like bad guy or good guy or what do they call that? Like Paragon
Renegade.
Your Paragon rating.
Renegade or, yeah.
But like he was saying last week, dude, it's funny because you'll select where it says no, and then he'll be like, I don't want to have anything to do with you ever again. And like, no, I just wanted to say no. I didn't want to say
wanted to soft no.
I'll be fucking die.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And Nyako continues to say or ask, when Bobby does not consider storytelling as good in games as in movies, does he mean with or without the interactive aspect? Or maybe he does not value interactivity in story that much.
We're all trying to figure it out still, guys. Including Bobby, maybe.
It's truly an anomaly.
Yeah, I don't know. So like the interactive part is tough with storytelling because when you allow the player to make choices and to do things, it's hard to tell a story because then they can mess it up. You know, they can take it in like different directions or things don't make sense or add up. So I don't know. I think the more agency you give a player sometimes, like the more difficult it is to tell an effective story. I don't know. I feel like people are I'm going to hear about that. I'm going to get some DMs this week for a comment like that.
No, it's like what you were saying, or was it you, or you quoted somebody that the player is an agent of chaos that just fucks up the story the whole time, man. Like you can't control what the person's saying or doing. You could just put them on rails, but then if you put them on rails, then you know maybe the player's not having as much fun as they should. So there's just too many things to dial in and right. I mean, some games do it perfect, like The Last of Us.
Too many variables. And you know, in a game like Mass Effect, that trilogy I think did a good job. But then again, I played like over 100 hours of that. Like I probably spent a summer for all three of them. Yeah. Over 100 hours. And at a certain point, it's just like, it's good because you just spent so much time with it and that amount of time allows you to do it. But like, that's not an effective way to communicate a story. You know, it's like, hey, check out this cool thing. You know, like if someone were like, hey, check out this cool YouTube video, it's 100 hours long. Hope you're not busy. But like, it's really good. You know, it's like, they're not going to go for that. Right. But
fuck no.
I don't know. With video games, it's different. Anyway, next question from Time Killer B. This is our last one. What did you all get your significant other for Christmas?
Well, she doesn't call it a real gift because she says the whole family uses it and she wants a real gift, but I did buy her a 3D printer.
You mean a house gift?
A 3D printer, yeah. Much like El Bundy when he bought Peggy a bowling ball, knowing that she wouldn't use it and it was too heavy for her. I'm staying away from it for the most part, trying to prove that it is for her. She did ask for one, so I do have that going for me. But yeah, she got a 3D printer. It's fucking awesome. And I just printed out some Warhammer shit yesterday. Ooh, I'll show it off to you guys. Keep talking.
So we use a program called Elfster for a Secret Santa, but it also is like your general like things that I want list. And so every year, there's like, it ranges in value from like anywhere from like $15 to like $150. Leslie doesn't like items that much as experiences, but this year we're kind of saving money a little bit to move. So I bought her like a really big sweater, that she wanted. And then I bought her a mug, but I said it was from Vivian. And so she collects mugs, and this one's like a Jane Austen mug and has a bunch of Jane Austen quotes on it. And then lastly, I bought her something off of her list, and we usually do this where it's like we'll buy a couple things on each other's list and then buy something off of it. And I bought her a playmat with her favorite Magic the Gathering character on it. And it's not for her to play with, it's for her to hang up in our office. because there's a lot of playmats that have a lot of really cool art that you can't buy as prints, but they actually sell frames just for playmats, which is actually pretty cool. And the funny thing is, she did the same thing. She bought me a playmat for me to put in a frame. However, when Amazon shipped it, it's the wrong playmat. It's the wrong art. We returned it. Got it again. Same wrong art. So I don't know what the fuck is wrong. I'm gonna probably just wait a couple weeks after returning it this time, and then order it and see if I get an actual one. So
there must be something wrong with the Amazon page.
It's probably what it is. That's what I'd like to think. What's interesting? It is from a product that was released this year. So I don't know why it would be wrong, and it's a pretty popular product. So we'll see.
So I've been playing a little bit of Warhammer. So the first thing I printed out for myself, second thing I printed out for myself was this. This is going to be on the war. It just seems like, check it out, Nick. It's like a thing that, it's not painted, obviously, but it's like something that you could fight around or,
Terrain.
Yeah, terrain. It's very cool, I think.
Nice.
If you collected Skaven, that could be a giant piece of warpstone.
That's what it is.
It usually floats. Damn it.
So you are using her 3D printer.
That was that was the second thing. The first thing is this thing right here. I love this thing. Nick, if you want one, I'll send you one. So when you're playing Magic the Gathering the way I do, on your webcam, you can put your deck on the top here, and then your graveyard here, and then your
Exile.
Exile down here. So you have 3 places. So because I don't have any table space, it's at a premium. I can't make it so much better to have 1 stack than 3 stacks. So anyway, it's awesome.
We've also learned, don't get a white playmat. That will fuck up the game.
No, it won't. It fucks up the game.
It detects your card is white out every other card.
If you have a white playmat and you have white sleeves, then it causes havoc. What was the last thing? Oh, if anybody out there is considering a 3D printer, go with Bamboo Lab. Best price and so easy to use. So easy.
All right.
Cool.
All right. I guess that's an episode, folks. Wow.
Yep. What do you? I know what I'm playing next week. I am playing. I don't know how to pronounce it. How would you pronounce QUD, Bobby?
Oh, is that like Caves of?
Yeah, Caves of Cud.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going to say.
That's how I always said it in my head.
Yeah. I've seen it. It's always overwhelmingly positive the whole time that it was through early access. It just hit 1.0 this year, and PC Gamer gave it roguelike of the year. It looks rough, though. It looks really rough. The graphics are like...
It looks like the original Rogue.
Yeah, it looks like Dwarf Fortress before the graphical update, But if it's that good, and I call myself a roguelike player primarily, I gotta give it the effort. I also bought Tales of the Borderlands, but I feel like that's gonna just sit there. I bought it for $2.
Are you excited for Borderlands 4?
No.
No,
dude. I mean, after the pre-sequel, I mean, it was okay, and 3 was okay, but they're not great. There's no Borderlands 2. You'll never. I don't think they'll ever capture that. Oh, I also played Tiny Tina's thing.
Yeah,
whatever that game was, not the DLC, but the other game.
The full game. Yeah,
the full game. I don't know. I don't think they can do that again.
Okay.
All right, Nick, what are you playing?
I'm going to be playing more Marvel Rivals. I think we're going to get into ranked this week, so I'll probably be playing that pretty sweaty-like. Then DRG Survivor. So
nice.
All right. Looking forward to those videos. I will be playing, what was the game? Scald Against the Black Priory. Going to be checking that out. It's one Emilio gifted me. Haven't forgot about it. I do want to check out Marvel Rivals, though. So I might have 2 games next week. We'll see. But we should say that next week, I believe, is our big Game of the Year episode. So you probably won't hear much about the games we've been playing. You're going to be hearing about the last year in gaming for us. So get your lists ready. Do the work, folks. It's going to be an exciting episode.
And by the way, if you're saving, if you got $50 to spend this year and you're waiting on our word, it's not necessarily things that came out this year. It's generally our favorite game that we personally played this year. So yeah, just keep that in mind. A lot of times it's not going to be your AAA. It's not going to be your Astrobot. Maybe for Nick.
We have not been documenting our games of the year. I really wish we had, so we could just kind of look back. We've made some odd choices, but all right. Cool.
All right. Speaking for Nick, Bobby, and myself, Tits of Cud, everyone. Tits of Cud. I don't know what it means, but yeah, it doesn't sound good.